Welcome everyone to the 15th round of the 2011 GP4 Offline Championship. We're here for the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, and I'm your host George Roke. We have got a lot to go through before the race starts, so let's get on with it. So for 2012, Pirelli will pick a tyre compound randomly for each race, which will be from hard to super soft, meaning that tyre wear for next season will be a more important factor in the races than they are currently at the moment. Team news, Amar Khan will lead Toro Rosso to join Force India for 2012, and Toro Rosso have signed the now current GP2 champion Franco Gamba, currently test drive at Toro Rosso, as one of their drivers for next season. So the race rating for Singapore was given a 6.5 out of 10, and the driver of the day was a tie between the two Red Bull drivers, James Willows and Florian Volker. Toro Rosso signing Gamba, not really a surprise considering the fact that Gamba has won the GP2 championship here at Suzuka, winning the race by I think around about 20 seconds, so congratulations to him. And Amar Khan, I suppose you could say that's not particularly a surprise considering that he's outperformed his teammate Robert Ionescu this season. But anyway, we will now go to the grid, and here it is. So on pole position is Florian Volker, followed by Michael Gau and McLaren in second, important for Volker for the championship. On the second row is an all-Ferrari second row, Waze Kuba and Joseph Willows. The third row is an all-Mercedes third row, Felix Sontag and Alex Southgate. In 7th place and 7th is Ricky Varkazane, a fantastic qualifying from him, and in 8th place is Jay McKenzie. 9th place is Evan Byrne, not a great qualifying from him. His title chances seem to be just slipping away ever so slightly, as Amar Khan is in 10th. James Willows, not a great qualifying from him, having won the last 4 races in a row, which is an OC record. 12th place is Viggo Holst. 13th place is Robert Ionescu, followed by Holst's teammate Aurelio Moitin. Holst, of course, will be going to McLaren for next season. 15th place is Lucas Levi, followed by George Roke in 16th. And as we go further down the order, on to the 9th row of the grid, in 17th place is the Williams of Alan Wolf, followed by his teammate Sam Thompson, all Williams 9th row. Alan Wolf, who is staying at Williams, and question marks remain on where Sam Thompson will go for next season. 19th place is Roman Quark, followed by Michael Mocho in 20th, so that means at the back of the grid will be the two virgins of Sean Grant, and in last place is Bruno de Barros, who is taking the place of Xavier Quinlan for the rest of the season. So that is the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix, 53 laps here. So let's see what the weather will be like for the race. And it will be bright sunshine, no chance of rain. It doesn't usually rain at Suzuka, and it once again doesn't here. So this should be a fascinating race, and we will see what will happen in the title race. The title race was nearly won last season, but after an engine failure for Volker, it meant that the title race went to the next round. Anyway, here is Volker on pole position with Gal in second place. The lights are about to come on. Who is going to get the jump going into turn 1? It is a long jump as the 5 lights are now on. And the lights are out, and we are away, and Volker gets a good start. Will Gal get the jump on him going into the first corner? It's going to be very interesting to see. There's a lot of cars moving about in the midfield. It looks like Volker has got the jump into turn 1. Is Gal going to keep second place? He's just about keeping side by side with Volker as they come around the right-hander into the first corner. And he does keep the lead just about as they head now into the S-curves for the first time. A great section of corners as they come through. Volker is still leading Gal in second. Third place is Waze Kuba with Joseph Willis in 4th as the cars all head through. They've all avoided contact so far. No damage at all as they now come through the S-curves, and they now head towards Degner, but Gal is right behind Volker, and so are the two Ferraris, and Gal's going to try and make a move coming into Degner. Is he going to make it stick? It's going to be tight, and he can't quite do it, and and there was contact there, I think, between Willows and Gal, I think. There was a bit of smoke there, and unfortunately they got away with it, but let's go on board with Joseph Willows. He was right behind Gal. They all had the slipstream. Volker was clearly holding these guys up at the moment, and Gal made it on the inside. He had to back off a bit. Nearly contact, but Volker just kept it, and they actually moved right into the path of Willows there. Lucky that there wasn't any debris lost from either of the car, but Willows got a bit out of shape and ran a bit wide, and that's given Waze Kuba a chance to get through as they head towards the hairpin. I bet that he's going to do it, and Willows almost makes contact with Sontag's right behind the Southgate as well. And that's giving Gal and Volker a chance to get away as all the cars come through the hairpin. There's Willows moved up to 10th. Everyone seems to have avoided contact so far. No damage to any car. De Barros has moved up to 20th, so he's made a good start from last. And Gal tries to make a move coming into Spoon, and he can't quite do it. But now he's going to head onto the back straight with all 130R. This is going to be the perfect chance for Gal to do it, and they've already got a bit of a gap ahead of the two Ferraris, and Gal already makes his move on the inside. It's side by side as they come past the other set of pits and into 130R. Is Gal going to make the move stick? And yes, he does. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Gal, who has not yet won a race so far this season, aside from the retirements, he's only finished 3rd and 4th. and he will be moving from McLaren next season. When there's rumours that he may go to Red Bull, we're not sure about that yet. But he's been very frustrated so far this season at McLaren with the bad luck that he's had. As we now head down the pit straight, as we look at all the cars coming, and then Roke I think was missing his rear wing, and has there been a collision with Lucas Levi again? What has happened here? And coming into the chicane, and there was contact once again. Levi, the torpedo, goes into the back of George Rowe, uses him as a brake again. I don't know how many times Levi has done that this season. That must be about the 10th time he's done it, and probably the 5th time to Roke. He's probably hit him half the time he's been there. But both drivers are going to have to come into the pits now. A really, really poor mistake from Lucas Levi. Once again, this will not do his hopes of getting a seat next season. Will do him any favours. And now the two Williams cars are battling as Wolff and Thompson are side by side, with Michael Mocho almost pushing Thompson down the down the straight. And Thompson's going to make him into the first corner. He does. He moves ahead of his teammate Wolff. And here's the Barros, who's right behind Mocho as well. As there's a whole bunch of guys, as the Virgins and the Lotus are all behind it. There was almost contact there between Willows and Volker, and Gallagher, you can see, has already got away at the front, so I guess Volker's probably on a different strategy. He might have filled his have his car high on fuel. He's probably got a high fuel load as they now come through, and now Willows is going to make it stick, and now Kuba can make it stick if he's not careful. Kuba's going to be right behind as Willows makes it into the 130 yards. They come into the chicane. Is Kuba going to make it stick? No, he doesn't. He stays behind, but he'll get the slipstream coming off the straight unless Volker gets the slipstream off Willows in front. It doesn't look like he is. Volker's car not particularly quick at the moment, and on the inside is Kuba going down the straight. He's going to make a move as Gal sets the fastest lap at 1:31.3, and Kuba's on the inside, and oh no, he's not, and he's got a problem, and he's got a technical failure, and Kuba, just as he was overtaking Volker, has got a problem, and he's pulled off to the side of the track. How unfortunate is that for Kuba? Unfortunately, his reliability lets him down again. Since he won in Canada, his luck has just not been with him so far this season. He's had his best finish since then has been second at his home Grand Prix in Belgium, but since then it's been a pretty torrid season for Kuba. It's just not gone for him, and unfortunately for him, he is out of the race. How unfortunate is that for Waze Kuba, looking set to get up into third place, and unfortunately he suffers a technical failure. Let's go on board. So he was right behind. He seemed to be okay. Unfortunately, it was just past the pit. So let's see what the problem was. So he seemed to be totally fine. He came out the chicane. He had the speed up. He was right behind Volker as they came onto the straight. He was just going past him. They'd just gone past the start-finish straight, and they were going to over 300 kilometers an hour. And there he goes. It was a transmission failure. Oh dear, that is not good there for Waze Kuba. Once again, the car failure lets him down again. And that is not what he would have wanted at all, as he pulls off to the side of the track and into the wall, probably at frustration that the car has failed him once again. As now Joseph Willows comes into the pits for his first lap of the race, so he's been quite light on fuel, only gone 11 laps so far in this race, so it looks like probably a 3-stop strategy that he will do. As let's see how quick the stop will be for Ferrari. Let's see if the 3-stop will work for Willows or not. And let's see where he comes out. You could probably say Willows probably isn't really in the title race. He could still possibly do it if he wins the next couple of races. Well, he has to win, probably here and maybe in the next race, the Indian Grand Prix, the first time we will go to India in the OC. But it's not, well, we'll see what happens really. It could still happen for Willows. We don't know yet. But he comes out at the moment in 11th place, as there was another car just coming in behind him now. I couldn't quite tell which one it was. Now here is, I believe this is Evan Byrne, who's currently running in 4th place with Felix Sontag just in front of him, but he's alongside, I believe that is Volker, and Sontag going to make a move for second, coming into 130R, and I believe he has done. There was nearly contact there, but Sontag makes the move stick on Volker, his fellow German, and Volker at the moment struggling. He obviously has a high fuel load, as Byrne is going to have to come into the pits, so it looks like he'll probably do a 3-stop, you could say, as he comes through the chicane and now into the pits for his first stop of the race, running it quite tight on fuel, but he does make it in the end. So let's see how quick this stop will be for McLaren. Let's see how much they fuel him to, and 18 laps, so, I mean 18 laps, that's around about the 30 mark, so I mean they could possibly get him to the end, but I don't know really. That could be quite tight. I mean Singapore is quite fascinating with fuel loads and everything, so it could happen, as there is Rela Moisin Full Force India, who is coming into the pits, and he's going to come out, Evan Bird, I should say, is going to come out behind Sam Thompson, but he's going to come out ahead of that pack, and there's a car that is pretty much destroyed there. That is Rela Moisin, I think it is, whose car is at the moment just right on the second Degner on the exit of the corner. That's a really dodgy place to have it, and his car is completely and utterly totaled, so something, he must have had a massive crash, And as his car just slowly slides off the circuit, as there was a battle there between, I think that was Roque and De Barros. So what has happened here? That is a pretty big shunt. Well, it has to have been a big shunt, because there's no way for any other reason, unless it's a Sebastian Buemi moment from China 2010 that his car has just his wheels have imploded on him. So let's have a look what happened. And as we go on board, and I think he's fit. Oh, he had a collision with his teammate. I think he might have had a collision with Viggo Holst. And the two coming into Degner, and Moita made contact, and there he goes, and he flips over spectacularly after crashing, trying to overtake his teammate coming into Degner, as Roque and De Barros nearly did the same thing. But Moita was on the inside, and I mean, it was a bit of a late move, and look at that, he goes right on his side and flips over, and the car disintegrates on him, and Holst loses his front wing. He still keeps going, but oh my goodness me, that is a huge incident there. I mean, you could say probably that was a bit of a dive bomb there from Moichin coming into Degner there. Really just not necessary, I don't think, considering the fact that they are teammates. And, I mean, he didn't really leave Holst anywhere to go there. But that was quite unfortunate there for Holst. But that is a huge crash from Moichin. Let's hope he is okay. As Holst then goes a bit wide, coming out the second Degner, just going under the track for 130R. But just in full time, look at that. Unbelievable, one of the crashes of the season so far. But let's hope Moichin is okay from that, as his car obviously gets finally pushed away by the marshals on lap 15. So let's have another look at it again. So let's go on board with Moichin. So he's right behind him there, and I mean, it wasn't particularly on, I don't think. I mean, it was a bit of a dive bomb, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for him, and you can see in slow motion it goes right over his helmet, crashes against the ground. A big crash. I don't think even the halo probably would have protected him there, probably would have just broken on impact. But unfortunately for Moichin, he is out of the race, and for Viggo Holst, his luck has not gone well, unfortunately. It's the curse of going to a new team, as his luck since it was announced that he was going to McLaren has not gone well at the moment, as his car finally gets pushed away. So the yellow flags will continue to be out, as there's James Willows running, as the car's right on the entrance there, so the cars have to slow down, as there's I believe that is Joseph Willows. Oh, did he go past him actually under the yellow flags? Was there yellow flags there? And there clearly was, and you can see he's alongside Mackenzie as he goes into Degner, so I believe Joseph Willows has overtaken under yellow flags there. I imagine that will be a penalty for sure, as Joseph Willows usually likes to say, as here is Evan Byrne, who's right behind Thompson. He needs to make sure he doesn't overtake coming into Degner, and he's on alongside, and oh no, he's actually let Thompson go back through there, because obviously there were yellow flags, so well done to Evan Byrne, but I believe Joseph Willows will probably get a penalty for that, as Ricky Farquharson comes into the pits, and so does, I believe that is Robert Ionescu, comes to the pits in front of him. So who's going to go out in front here in this little battle here? And let's see, Farquharson, his stop, he uses the curves to probably get himself a bit of a boost, and he does come out ahead of Ionescu, who is rumoured to possibly want to get into the Sauber seat next year. He's wanted to try and get hopefully up to the Red Bull seat, but many critics have downplayed that, considering the fact that he has not done as well as his teammate Amar Khan this season. And here we're on board with Ionescu as he comes out of the S-curves as he heads towards Degner. Here is the two Red Bulls. Here is James Willows in front, as there's Lucas Levi, who's battling with Amar Khan for 11th place. As they come through Degner, was there any contact? I don't think there was, but Levi makes the move stick for 11th place. Seemed to be okay there, and Lucas Levi comes into the pits now. He will probably not want to see Roque after this race, after that collision. That's probably about the 4th or 5th time that he's done that to Roque this season, and well, he's done that quite a few times to other drivers, particularly I think Robert Ionescu has been involved with his various first corner incidents. So let's see how quick Sean Grant's stop is. It's a 12-second dead exactly, and he comes out in at 19th place. And now Nicolas Gal comes in for his first stop, so I imagine he will probably go for the 2-stop, and that's 28 laps of fuel. So that is, I think, yep, so he'll have to make another stop, but he'll go quite far on this set of tyres. But at the moment, it's looking pretty good for Gal, who, as I said, has yet to win so far this season. He's finished in nearly all races that he has finished in third, aside from, I think, 1 or 2 where he's finished in fourth. But aside from that, I mean, he's pretty consistent, but Gal has been frustrated with McLaren's luck this season. As now here we are on board, I believe this is with Florian Volker as he comes through Spoon, as he comes now onto the back straight towards 130 yards. Here's Robert Ionescu coming through Degner, and he comes through the second one, and he goes wide, and he's into the wall, and he crashes spectacularly. He does Marcus Ericsson in Suzuka 2017, goes off there. That was a big incident, and unfortunately Robert Ionescu, that does his seat chances for next season not the world of good. So he was running in ninth, so he was running in a pretty good position just outside the points. You can see he just goes a little bit wide, gets a little bit out of shape, and just cannot go, and just car does not turn, gets a load of understeer, and goes right into that Rolex sign there. And that was a pretty big crash there for Ionescu, but he is out of the race. Ionescu, who himself has been frustrated with the amount of, despite doubling his points from last season, been frustrated with the amount of bad luck that he's had, despite having, I think, 3 8th places in a row. But unfortunately, it's just not particularly happened for him this season. And unfortunately for Ionescu, he is out at the moment, as now here is Felix Sonntag at the moment in the lead of this race. So now here's Miklos Gauch trying to get past Volker, coming into it, and he does it, and he gets past him this time in Degner. He tried it on the first lap, didn't work, but it has worked this time. Cal on fresher tyres, looking very good at the moment. Sonntag leading for the moment, but James Willers, but I believe he'll have to pit, and so will Sonntag, and now Sonntag does pit for his first stop. I wonder if actually I don't think he'll probably try and go to the end. I think that might be a bit much. Let's see how much they fuel him, and yes, it's just 16 laps, so he'll make one more stop before the end of this race. As now James Willers also comes into the pits behind, and let's see how long this stop will be for him. As Sonntag comes out, a 9.4 second stop as he comes back out onto the track. James Willers is comfortably just a little bit behind now. I think he was about 5 seconds behind, and now actually is he going to come out ahead of the Sauber there of Ricky Farquharson? That could be important, and he does indeed come out ahead of him, as that's going to be important for the rest of the race. So Willers does come out in front, as Ricky Farquharson having a good race in 8th place at the moment, as Gal at the moment has now actually taken the lead. As now here is Viggo Holst trying to get past Bruno de Barros, coming into 130R, and he's going to make the move stick, and it's still side by side, but he just gets in front of de Barros as they head towards the chicane. This is Volker in 3rd place, and now here is a battle for, I believe this is 10th place between Roke and Carr, and Carr locks up there coming into the chicane, as Roke actually made a move past him coming into Degner. And so Carr obviously locked up. He's probably struggling on those tyres. He's got 3 laps to go in. I don't actually know if he's made a stop yet, but you can see he locks up and goes on the grass, and he does well to control it, but he gets well out of shape there after Roke went past him, and that gives a chance for some of the cars behind him to possibly make a move, as he's already lost ground to Roke ahead of him. As now, in fact, he does come into the pit. So will he go to the end? And yes, he does. He will go to the end of this race on this set of tyres. So I don't believe Carr had made a stop this race yet, as far as I know, unless my memory is terrible. But he comes out a 14.3 stop, quite long, probably to put all the fuel in the tyres on. As there was and Bruno de Barros was also in the pits as well, for Virgin. But Carr at the moment comes out in 18th. As now Joseph Willows is coming in for his second stop. So it'll be interesting to see if he does actually go to the end. Will he go to the end? And the answer is no, he doesn't. So he will have to make a 3rd stop. So let's see if that works out for Willows or not. Volker has also come into the pits as well. So it'll be interesting to see if this 3-stop works for Ferrari or not. As Volker, as Willows, I should say, comes out of the pits. Volker now comes out of his pit box, and is Willows going to get in front of the Sauber of Farquharson? And yes, he does just about. As Volker comes out behind, I believe, was that Southgate? I believe it was, and he comes up behind Mackenzie as well. Not exactly worked out well for Volker there, but he will go to the end. It's going to be actually quite tight on that bit of fuel. 28 laps, so that's going to be like the Kuba and Gal situation from Singapore, I should say, as Volker gets a bit out of shape coming into turn 1 there. Goes a bit wide, as now Evan Byrne comes in for his second stop of the race. Will he try to go to the end? It might be a bit tight, but let's see what the team decide to do. If they do it for 30 laps, well, yeah, I think they could actually get into the end. Will they do so? And the answer is no, they don't. They actually don't fuel into the end, so they've gone for the 3-stop as well. They could have easily done that if they did that with Carr. I'm surprised many other top teams didn't decide to go for the 3-stop. For the 2-stop or the 1-stop. As far as I know, I believe Carr has done the 1-stop. But Byrne comes out in 7th place. He comes out. He's going to come out ahead. He comes out actually ahead of the Red Bull for the moment. That could be interesting. And there's a car on fire, and that is George Roke. His car is smoking at the back, and he is going to be out of this race. It's been a pretty poor weekend by his standards, although it wasn't helped by Levi torpedoing him on the first lap. But unfortunately for Roke, his car has failed on him, and he's going to have to retire from the race. Unfortunately, the second half of the season hasn't gone as well as the first, and he is going to have to retire the car. And where's he going to pull off? Is he going to pull off now? I believe the engine is just cut out right there as he comes through the hairpin. And yep, now it is cut out. and he goes to the track and he goes into the wall there, probably frustration at Levi as he retires from this race on lap 31. That is the 4th retirement of the race, I believe, as Roke's car, they're going up in smoke as the marshals will soon push his car off. I think he's pulled it off just after the hairpin there. But that is George Roke out of this race, so it's just not particularly gone that well for him. And yep, there it is. It was a water leak, in fact, that forced him to retire. So let's see where. I think Roke had actually just made his final stop, and he actually was going to go. He actually was going to go to the end on this set of tyres. As you can see, he has 27 litres of fuel. But a water leak occurs, and unfortunately, for Roke, he could have had the chance to pit there, but unfortunately, he didn't. If he had pitted there, he could have tried to fix the problem, but unfortunately for Roke, he didn't. And unfortunately for him, the car obviously, well, the car problem was obviously too terminal, and he had to retire the car. But I mean, it hadn't started smoking yet. I mean, we've seen many other cars go into the pits before their engine starts smoking and repair it, but for some reason Roke didn't. As they start coming through the S-curve, there goes the engine, the water going all over the engine, and that meant that there was a water leak. And unfortunately for Roke, he retires from the Grand Prix as he's holding up the cars behind him. He holds up Alan Wolf, and he just had a farmer car as now Felix, I think that's Felix Sontag, comes through there and almost actually has a bit of a collision there with Roke. But he comes through and eventually, after coming through Degner and just going through the hairpin, Roke in fact does pull the car off the track. So as he comes through to the hairpin, he's already slowing down, and he comes through the hairpin, the engine cuts out, and he goes off the track. And that is him out of the race, as Roke retires from this Grand Prix. And now Jay McKenzie's got a problem as well, so mechanical problems besetting Renault here, and he was running in 8th place, and he's got, it looks like, well, he's got 3 problems there on the dashboard, but it looks like a transmission problem for McKenzie. And now, as the Red Bull there goes past him, will McKenzie get it back to the pits in time? We shall see as he's coming down the back straight. He's going at a slow speed, but still going at fast enough one to make it to the pits. But will he get back to the pits is the big question. As he now comes through the chicane, is he going to make it back to the pits in time? And the answer is he comes through. Is he going to make it? And no, the car's given up on him, and it's just before the pit entry as it's there. But unfortunately, the car has unfortunately broken down on McKenzie, and he is out of the race. How unfortunate that is for the Polish driver, and unfortunately that is going to mean no points for Renault. It's been a bad weekend, as his car now stops just before the pit entry, so it's fortunately not in the way, but the wheel is in the middle of the pit entry right now, so let's hope no car runs into it before it comes into the pits, otherwise that will mean a longer pit stop for sure. But the car just stationary at the moment, no cars coming into the pits fortunately, but as Mackenzie's car will be pushed away, and now Lucas Levi comes through. And let's see when the problem occurred for McKenzie. And if you go on board, it was okay coming through the hairpin, but as he was coming through the right-hander heading towards Spoon, it looks to be okay at the moment, but actually there it goes, just coming up to Spoon is where the car then breaks down. And he was coming through, he was running in 8th, but I think there was a thing on the dashboard saying he was 11th, I'm not sure, it might have just been me, but as he was coming through, the whole dashboard thing seems to be okay, so it looks like it probably was a transmission failure as McKenzie comes down the back straight. As there goes the Red Bull of Volker going past there. And as you can see, he's coming through 130R, and he almost makes it to the pits. Just a few seconds if the engine held out more, he could have made it. But unfortunately, just as he comes through the second part of the chicane, the car just dies on him there, and he pulls off the track, heading towards through the old pit entry from the early 2000s/90s. But unfortunately, his car stops there, as now Felix Sontag comes in for his final stop of the race. So 2 stop at the moment looks to be the way to go. Let's see where Sontag will come out on track, and I imagine the team will fuel him to the end. They'd be stupid not to, and indeed they do. They do fuel him comfortably to the end of the race. And let's see where he will come out on track. At the moment, it looks set to get a podium, Sontag, unless anything goes wrong for him in the latter part of the race. As he comes out onto the track, and it looks like James Willard's actually just come up behind him, so he's actually closed up a little bit from that stop. But Gal at the moment comfortably in the lead, but he will have to stop again before the end. He'll stop quite late. Now Joseph Willows comes into the pits for Ferrari for his final stop of the race. He was, I think, on the 3 stop. So let's see if this has worked out for Willows or not. So I don't believe he'll be on the podium as far as I know, unless he's built a gap as theirs. And no, he won't. You can see Sontag and Willers have gone past him, and it'd be interesting to see if Southgate goes past him as well. But Willers will have the fresher tyres for the end of the race. And where will he come out? Will he come out ahead of Southgate? And he's just actually coming down, I think, the back straight now. And this could be important. And I think it was very, very close. But I think Willers might have just come out in front in P4. Now Evan Byrne comes into the pits for his final stop of the race. He's not had a particularly good race. And he might even struggle to get a decent order of points here. As he comes in. And let's see where he comes out on the track. Let's see how quick the stop will be first of all. It was 8.2. And where will he come out on the track? It'll be interesting to see. At the moment he's in P7, so it looks set to stay there. So not many points, but Miklos Scout now comes into his final stop, 12 laps of fuel. And he comes in, he comes out of his pit box, and he will now come out of the pits. He's got a comfortable lead, so it is Felix Sontag, who at the moment is in P2, as he now just comes across the line. Pretty comfortable for Gal at the moment, but he'll have much fresher tyres, so he can comfortably get away from Sontag in P2. And that's Bruno de Barros, and de Barros' engine has caught fire spectacularly. And unfortunately, for the second week running, de Barros' car has let him down, and he's going to have to retire the car as he pulls the car off the track. And with de Barros, that is a second retirement in a row, not down to him, as he goes across the grass there, probably goes towards the wall, probably to get to Marshall's to extinguish the car. But for de Barros, once again, a technical failure forces him to retire from this race, as the car eventually stops, and now Marshall should come and push the car away. But that is very unfortunate for the Brazilian driver. He still has yet to get his first finish in the top tier of the OC, as it was a engine failure. And let's see when the problem started. And it was fine as it comes through the S-curves. He was running in 17th, and he was going to go to the end of the race. And it was an engine failure that caused him to retire. But at the moment, it just came up on the dashboard, and it was actually started smoking. But then eventually, obviously, as he went on, the car it turned into flames. So as he comes through the two Degners, as he lets the Sauber of Lucas Levi go through, and it was, I think, after the hairpin. It was after the hairpin, I think, when the engine started to catch fire, and actually there it goes. Then it catches fire just as it comes through the hairpin. As now Evan Byrne tries to make his way past, caught in that big black smoke that de Barros' car is fueling all over the track. Let's hope he doesn't make it slippery, but you can see his car just fails then, and he has to slow down, and eventually he does pull off the track, which he does just now. Well, he does in a minute, just he comes through Spoon, and now he pulls the car off, and he pulls it all the way to the barriers to ensure that there weren't any other problems. He goes over the little bump in the road, but he pulls the car off, and that is de Barros out of the Grand Prix. So that's unfortunate for him. Let's hope in the next race in Korea that he might hopefully be able to finish it. So at the moment, it's only 1.3 seconds, the gap between Sontag and what was I going to say? I've forgotten the name of the driver, and Sontag and Willows then, which had a bit of a mind blank there. Oh, Ricky Farquharstein's got a problem, and Ricky Farquharstein has got an issue. He was running in P7, and Southgate, I believe, has just gone past him. And is he going to make it to the pits now? Because at the moment, Lucas Levi's in 9th. That means that he possibly could take the last point spot if Farquharstein does retire. But he's set to come into the pits, is he? And yes, he does. He actually does make it into the pits this time. But unfortunately for him, that means a chance of 2 points is now only going to be down to 1. But at least Ricky Farquharstein will get, hopefully, something out of this race if he does come out ahead of Levi. Let's see if he does. I don't actually know how far Levi is back, but he still hasn't gone past him at the moment. So let's see as they put a little bit more fuel into the car and they fix the problem. 5.8 second stop, quite quick there for Farquharstein, and he comes out, and Levi actually is nowhere to be seen, so he's obviously very far behind when he probably was, having been involved in that collision with Roke. So Farquharstein comes out in a comfortable 8th place at the moment. As now here is, there was almost a collision there between Volker and the Williams there. I'm not sure what was going on, but there was almost a collision as Volker was trying to lap the Williams of, I'm not sure who that was. It might have been, I think it was Sam Thompson, I think, and you can see Thompson just doesn't get out of the way, goes right into the path of Volker there, coming off the chicane. He will not be happy with that at all. Not good driving there. But Volker does eventually get through. Now here is a battle between the two Williams for 14th place at the moment. Wolf is in 13th, and in 14th place is Thompson, as now there's a battle also going on behind, as now the McLaren laps these two. The battle, I think, this is sixth place between Byrne and Southgate, I believe, as they head into the chicane. As Byrne has lapped one of the Williams, as now Sean Grant tries to make a move on Thompson, coming into through 130R. Byrne trying to lap the other Williams, and there was contact, and Byrne's gone wide. He's made contact coming into the chicane, and he's managed to avoid any damage, but he's lost a place to Southgate. That's poor driving from the back markers yet again, and from the Williams yet again. So I don't know what the Williams here was doing, but he just came right in the path of Byrne there and forced him to go wide, made contact and forced him to go wide on the chicane, losing a place to Southgate there. And that will not do Evan Byrne's title hopes any favours at all. But he rejoined, so I believe that was Sam Thompson, the one that was involved in that. As you know, it wasn't, it was Adam Wolf. So you can see, he just should have let him through on the inside there and just went right in the path of Byrne. He just didn't obviously seem to see he was there. And there was contact, I think, actually between Southgate and Thompson as well there. So both Williams not really doing any favours for the back markers there. And Wolf goes wide coming off the exit of the chicane after the contact from Southgate. That is really, really bad driving there from the two. Wolf, who's staying there next season, that will not do Thompson's hopes any favours next season, as now Southgate eventually does get through. And now the Virgin of Grant tried to get through as well, but now unfortunately for Byrne, he's down to 7th, so he's only got 2 laps to go, so he needs to see if he can try and gain any ground. Hopefully the traffic will do him favours, but I don't think it will, seeing what has just happened there. So I imagine probably both Williams, one if not both Williams, will probably get a penalty for that. But anyway, so we are now on the last lap of the race. 53 laps have been set to be completed, but at the moment is Miklos Gal, who's got a 17-second lead over Sontag at the moment, and it has gone all very well for once for Miklos Gal. He's not had that much luck this season. His best finish has been 3rd, and he's finished there about, I think, 5 times. And aside from that, he's just not had much luck this season. He's noted from the start of the season he wanted to leave McLaren because he was frustrated at the strategies and bad luck that they had over last season and at the start of this season as well. But in this race in particular, Miklos Gal has had no problems whatsoever. He's had a pretty comfortable victory. At the moment, it's actually 18 seconds the gap between him and Felix Sontag in 2nd place as he comes through Spoon for the final time. He has not won yet this season. There have been rumours that Gal might go to another top seat in the series. As Gal comes down the back straight through the pits, he'll want to stay up there because he is a good driver, and it's just unfortunate that luck has just not gone his way this season. As Byrne hasn't at the moment trounced him, but at the moment Byrne is not having any of the luck, and certainly in this race, Miklos Gal, he hasn't had any luck. He's won it on pace. He overtook Volker at the start, and he's never looked back. As Miklos Gal comes through the chicane down the final corner, and Miklos Gal comes down the straight and takes his first victory of the 2011 season. Congratulations to him, as he comes across the line in 1 hour and 22 minutes, as now Felix Sontag to take another 2nd place for Mercedes. That is exactly what he needed if he wants to keep a seat there for next season, as he comes down past the pit entry, and he comes across the line as James Willows is just going to be behind him in 3rd place. Sontag comes home in 2nd, Willows in 3rd, James Willows that is, and Lucas Levi comes home in 9th place, just outside of the points, and that is Joseph Willows, who's going to come home in a pretty lonely 4th place. Viggo Holtz, after that collision with Moichin, set to come home in 10th as he comes across the line holding that collision, so he did well to recover there. As now Roman Quark set to come home in a pretty impressive 11th place. He's kept it clean and tidy. The Lotuses haven't been involved in anything this race, so it's been quite clean by their standards anyway. Quark comes home in 11th, and Volker comes home in P5. So that will be interesting to see what happens in the standings there. Southgate comes home in P6. Byrne will come home in P7 after that skirmish with the 2 Williams, as he comes across the line in 7th. Armakar will come home in 12th. Thompson 13th. Wolf 14th. It'll be Grant, I believe, in 15th. Mocho home 15th and Grant home in 16th, actually. So I think Grant dropped a place to Mocho, as Ricky Vakrsane comes home to take the final point for Sauber in 8th place, following that technical problem that Vakrsane had with about 10 laps to go. But there is your race winner, Miklos Gal. Now we will look at the final race results. Gal wins by 19 seconds ahead of Sontag in 2nd, James Willows 3rd, Jones Willows 4th, Volker 5th, Southgate 6th, Evan Byrne 7th, and Vakrsane completing the top 8 in points, with the Holland drivers a lap down. Lucas Levi, Viggo Holst, Roman Quark, Armakar, Sam Thompson, Adam Wolf, Michael Mocho and Sean Grant, with Bruno de Barros, Jay McKenzie, George Roque, Robbie Inescu, Roland Moichin and Waze Kuba not finishing this race. So the fastest lap was set by Miklos Gal by over half a second from James Willows, Sontag 3rd, Joseph Willows 4th, Saki 5th, Vakrsane 6th, Byrne 7th, Kuba 8th, Quark in 9th. That's quite impressive pace. Mackenzie in 10th, Volker 11th, Moich in 12th, Levi 13th, Hulse 14th, Ionescu 15th, Roke in 16th, Motra 17th, Thompson 18th, De Barros 19th, Carr 20th, Grant 21st, and Animal 22nd. As we'll now have a look at the point standings. So Joseph Willis did get a 5-second penalty for overtaking under yellow flags, but the position did not change, and Wolf dropped to P16 after causing a collision with Byrne at the end there, 15 seconds. Anyway, here are the driver standings. So Volker now has just a 3-point lead over James Willows in second place, and Byrne is now 12 points behind Volker with just 4 races left. And this could be quite fascinating. James Willows actually is still in the title race with 64 points. Nicholas Gal, you could say, he's probably on the verge, maybe. Waze Cooper, I think, is probably out of the title race with that retirement. Alex Southgate is in 7th, with Viggo Holst 8th, Felix Sontag in 9th. Quite a close battle there for 7th, with George Rowe completing the top 10. Mackenzie is 11th, Carr is in 12th, Moich in 13th, Ionescu 14th, Ruki Falkenstein up to 15th, ahead of Wolf and Renjans. And 18th place is Quag, 19th place is Levi, ahead of Grant, with Thompson, Quinlan, Mocha, and DeBarros with no points. In the constructor standings, Red Bull are extending their lead. It is now 34 points, should say. Maths wasn't helping me there. McLaren move above Ferrari into second place by 5 points. Mercedes way down, fourth with 69. Force India 5th with 43. Renault 6th with 37. Taurus 7th with 21. Sauber 8th with 13. Williams 9th with 5. 10th Lotus with 3 points. And 11th Virgin with 2 points. Well, that has been the Japanese Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to, as usual, guys, vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you for the next round of the series, the Korean Grand Prix at the Yonggam International Circuit. Thanks for watching, and see you there.